pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jim, would you care to lead us in prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we ask you to be with us tonight. This is a governmental meeting, and you have defined that governments exist in your order and in your providence. Lord, we come to you too with the understanding that we all fail, that we all fall, and that in using the word as you described, we all sin, and we know that we fall below your standards. But you've extended mercy to us, and you understand, and you sent your only Son in human form to come here and is truly God and truly man, and experienced and know the trials and the failures that we have. We ask you, Lord, to accept us, to have mercy upon us, and to guide us in our thinking and in our thoughts and in our wisdom in doing it. And in your words, you have told us to be slow to anger, to be slow to speak, to understand, and to extend mercy to those as we would want mercy extended to us. Lord, we thank you for all the blessings that you have as we've looked over these past few weeks of the beautiful fall weather, that you blessed our country, and you blessed our state, and you bless each and one of us. And we know we fall short, but Lord, we thank you, and we ask you to be with us in every aspect of our lives and what we do tonight. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim. Hopefully everybody can squeeze in and find a seat. There's a few scattered out throughout there. First on the agenda is approval of the minutes for October the 3rd. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve the October 3rd minutes.
I have a motion by Bob.
Second.
And a second by Joel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next would be the approval of claims. And Jim, if you want to touch base on financial real quick, we'll do that.
Just briefly, Commissioners, looking in, we're going now, obviously, into mid-October. As far as the general fund, that's been kind of one of our primary concerns over the year. That is still a $1 million positive balance. In fact, there's going to be an additional $211,000 plus receipted in there tomorrow. So even after the claims tonight, out of your regular docket, that's still going to be right at a $1.3 million balance. All of your other major funds, your operating funds that you're paying claims for tonight, all have positive balances. Most of them are in the range of $200,000 or more. One little bit of concerning note, and it's more still anecdotal. For the highway, it looked like that the receipt came in right at around 109. And when I say 109, that's a split between 73 and 76. But we were
That's 109 per fund.
one. So we were looking at about 250. We're a little under that. Now again, this is the same thing we talked about. August we knew was going to be low. That's historical. September was still not quite at the range we thought, but now we've got October again. So nothing that, is going to take the highway and put them in the red. But I think we are looking now at a 3-month trend as far as that money coming in, just to kind of, keep alert and keep watch. But in any case, they're looking at positive balances all the way through. The only fund that you have in the red is the 9149. That's that grant fund. That's every month. What that is, that's a reimbursable grant. But all your others are all in good shape. And so the total notice. So and the other part, I think it was brought up in the county council meeting. It's my understanding that the settlement is going to be for after the property tax is in mid-November. I think the 16th, is that date might sound right, November 16th.
I think it does.
The date, but it does look like that Owen County is going to be, first, second, third, somewhere right in that as far as the state of settlement. So what that means is I think there's a very high realistic probability that the settlement is going to come in by the end of November for those receipts. So we're gonna go into December this year with probably a really good idea of how much we have, going into all the funds. But no, everything, still looks good. We're in our 10th month. No reason to believe at all for this entire year, the general fund should have $1 million+ balance for the remainder of the year.
Thank you, Jim. With that being said, we have 4 different claims here. The first one being the regular claims, $158,781.68. Do I hear a motion to approve or any questions?
Motion to approve regular claims of $158,781.68.
I have a motion by Joel. Here a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bob. All in favor? Aye. Next claim will be payroll. It's $250,179.28. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion, we approve payroll.
Have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Joel. All in favor? Aye. The next one is county council reimbursement, $702 for travel expense. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion, we approve.
Have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Joel. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And the last one is out-of-cycle claims for a total of $78,674.20. That's for utilities, COVID clinic, highway, visa 1, 2, 4, and 5. And we paid travelers insurance and workingman's comp to get that taken care of. So, again, the total $78,674.20. Do I hear a motion to
Make a
approve?
motion, we approve the out-of-cycle claims.
Have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
Have a second by Joel. All in favor? Aye. There's several of these gentlemen, so we'll pass them down.
Yeah.
And while we're doing that, if Blackwood would like to come up. And so everyone knows, we've already had public hearing on this matter. But I am gonna open it back up for just a few quick comments if anybody has any, but we're gonna go ahead and let you present. And before you get started, I'm gonna ask County Attorney, we had some demands that we had asked or requested, and they have met those, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Commissioner, if I may, just a quick procedural, if I may, and Carmen. This was originally went to the Owen County Plan Commission. The Plan Commission in Owen County is an advisory commission. They did in fact approve this request from advisory fashion by a vote of 7-0. They did have a contingency as far as putting up a fence in the front, and that's already been done. This comes to you under Indiana Code, primarily 36-7-4-600. That's the zoning code for this particular area that goes through. And that what you would have here is from notice was given from the findings of fact and the certification letter that's been presented to you. There was notice given by the Plan Commission. Notice was in a newspaper for 10 days. The request was public inspection for 10 days. They found the rezoning would not adversely affect adjacent landholders, and they found that the proposed zoning is consistent with the master plan. They sent it to you by certification, which is required under 36-7-4-600 series. Now, before you tonight, commissioners, on 603, briefly, as you hear the information from Mr. Carmen and from the petition, it's required under 36-7-4603 that you will pay reasonable regard. You are not bound by it, but you should pay reasonable regard. Comprehensive plan, current conditions and character of the current structures in the district, desirable uses in the land for each district is adapted, conservation, property value, self jurisdiction, responsible growth and development. This was presented to you to more directly to your question, and there was a request for more information. During the hearing, was required that it be held in 90 days. There was a waiver by the petitioner in an open meeting to waive the 90-day requirement in order to provide the commissioners more time, and it also allowed your petitioner to go and get more information that you had asked for. Now, as far as commitments that they have looked into, what's being proposed to you is a commitment. This is called a commitment concerning use and development of real estate. I'm just going to go over the procedures. I'm not giving you the fact whether it's positive or negative, but more directly your question. The petitioner has looked at this, and they have said for this particular real estate, which was clearly identified by the parcel and by common knowledge is 2333 State Highway, that they're in this rezone from commercial to heavy industrial. They've noted, and I think it's been brought out, that the zoning ordinance in Owen County for 33C2 permits a number of uses for heavy industrial. I won't go over every single one of them, but some of them are, an arsenal, manufacture of acid, landfill. Now again, this property is roughly in the range of about 2.4 acres, so it's probably very unlikely that there's going to be a landfill. But in any case, there's a statement of commitment by the owner that this property will not be allowed for the following uses. If they lay this all out, it's from A to L, starting with an arsenal and working down. Now, it's not only would continue for this petitioner, but this would go further for any other, if the property were sold. So this, if you approve this zoning request, these commitments are recorded and they have enforcement, they can be enforced by the zoning ordinance. In addition to the request that you had asked for, the petitioner has stated in this document that they will continue testing, analysis, and reports for toxicity, characteristic leaching procedures, storm water pollution, revision, material facilities, maintenance of spill. They will have best monthly practices inspections, quarterly house inspections, quarterly visible inspections. And there was a question on the paving, on section 4, the yard and operations area of the property shall be paved. Paving will be completed whether permitting 30 days after IDM's issuance of a solid waste processing permit. These are binding. These are binding effects. These commitments, again, binding if approved by you as the commissioners. Petitioner, this is on the owners of the real estate, and it can be modified and terminated only upon the approval of the Owen County Board of Commissioners. This document, if you do approve this zoning ordinance, this will be recorded in 30 days, and this will be enforcement. This commitment is perpetual and binding on the owner and all successors in interest of the real estate. This commitment may be enforced by the Owen County Planning Commission, that be signed, notarized, and be filed. So you had asked for a number of information. You had asked for concerns. It's my understanding they're ready to present those to you today. Just one more procedural. This is required that there be different posting. Suzanne, could you take us through as far as what notice or what posting was done?
We put a legal notice in the newspaper 10 days prior to the meeting.
Okay, and was there also a posting done outside of?
Outside of this room, and
Okay, Commissioner, I want to point that out, is that if we could, direct your attention 367608-4F. The only actual notice that's required is not, it's under IC 5-14-1-1.5-5. That's a requirement that within 48 hours before the meeting that there be a posting and a notification. I want to point out that Owen County went above and beyond. They went ahead and posted this 10 days in the paper for all notice. The other thing to point out, that's kind of where it ends, and I defer to commissioners and Mr. Carmen, but you've already agreed to allow petitioners and you've allowed the public to talk and present things. So there's plenty of opportunity here. The only point I would just like to make is, as far as statutory, absolutely. As far as even more, that's being done by the commissioners.
Thank you, Jim. And I've got one question, and maybe you've already answered it and I've missed it. We were talking about a bond for cleanup in future.
And I'll defer to.
Okay, all right. Well, with that being said, we'll go ahead and let you folks speak. Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
My name is Mike Carmen, attorney representing petitioner, Renee Lloyd with Vet Environmental as well. So I want to talk just a couple minutes more about the commitment, because I think this may be new to you. I have to do a lot of these in Monroe County, but that's a little bit different environment where they're trying to do anything. Just a little bit more difficult. So we do a lot of these zoning commitments, because if there's something that, of concern, that your decision is gonna be, well, I'm willing to do A, B, C on the understanding that certain things are not gonna happen, or certain things will happen, we put that in this commitment. The statute allows this to be done, and it gives it the strength of a zoning violation if we don't adhere to these commitments. Now, they only get signed and recorded if you approve the zoning petition, because there was no point to them. So we tried to capture this, several things that were discussed last time. There's quite a bit of discussion about IDM and testing and results and reports and who's gonna get those. So we have with Renee's help, tried to identify those different things. IDM requires testing, analysis, water testing quality, those things. That they're in here to be done, and copies of all those reports, analysis furnished at actually whoever you designate, whether it's to the president board, to Jim, or to whoever.
It'd be through our health department first and foremost, yes.
So there's that. There were some comments made last time about the other permitted uses in the HI zone. So try to deal with that with basically saying as a commitment, essentially none of those things be done with a couple exceptions. I'll be honest with you, that's on me. You never do anything for a single user. So of all those listed things, there are a couple, I think there are 3 or 4 of them that are still permitted on a reduced size, a half acre, an acre and a half. If it would happen, if it'd be done here, it's gonna have to be on a pretty small scale. And that was the issue of the limited size of the site at which that could be done for that purpose, to keep it at a small scale. And the discussion about paving, that's in here as a commitment that when the paving has to be done, and it has to be done, again, it becomes a zoning violation for not doing so. I did not specifically address in here bond requirements, but that's a one-time short-term issue, right?
Yeah, it'll be it's required for the operations plan permit, the salt.
And we would need a copy of that moving forward.
So there is, what was submitted, and I forwarded the email to the Blackwood Solutions operations plan. It was an appendix in there, I believe Appendix K.
Okay.
So you can see it there, and I think there is one thing that has to be revised, based on there was a name change from Blackwood Solutions Inc. to now Blackwood Solutions LLC. So there's a revision that's in place right now, going on right now. So that's a requirement, again, that item stipulates, and that will be part of their decision.
Yeah, because ultimately IDM is the final say. Gentlemen, you guys have any questions?
No, most of them have been answered to me.
Sounds good to me.
Anything else?
Nothing further, thank you.
I know at the previous meetings, we had no one show up for public hearing, no comment. I'm gonna open it up for a couple of minutes here, and if I hear nothing, we're gonna shut it down. Go ahead, Baron.
The only question I've got, and everything looks good to me, the only question I've got is we've done this before in the past, where we've had a company come in, they do this, they do that, next thing you know, they're gone, and we're left with a mess. I know that may not apply to this particular group of people.
That's why we're asking about this bond.
But it bothers me, are we gonna do the same thing again and not learn from the past?
We're not gonna let that happen here.
I also add to that.
You sure can.
The recording of the commitments makes this enforceable as to subsequent owners too. Now, that doesn't deal with, if the company abandoned site and not clean up, that's your bond on that. In terms of the restrictions on what can be done here, the requirements to reporting, analysis, and those things, that follows the land. It's not specific to Blackwood having to do that. It's whoever's in there trying to make use of it on those circumstances.
Correct. Baron, does that satisfy you? Again, we tried to make sure that there's a bond in place here to clean this issue up, and we're not stuck with it in the county.
Clean that mess up.
Exactly.
It's huge.
Anybody else? All right, you guys, no other discussion?
Nope. We've asked a lot of them and they've brought it forth, and as far as I can see, everything's in order.
Well, with that being said, I'm gonna ask for a motion to,
We have an ordinance,
oh, you have it ready? Okay.
I'm on the agenda.
You are, but not during this time. You're next after this.
It will be previous before vote.
Then you should have been before then.
I didn't rush into it.
You can speak after this vote, or you got public hearing, one of the two, whichever you wanna do.
A matter of protocol, I'm on the agenda with this
You are on the agenda after Blackwood Solutions. You are not part of Blackwood Solutions.
Then I have a public comment.
You can speak at the open hearing.
3 minutes.
Bob's give you 3 minutes.
A covenant is only as good as it can be enforced. Owen County has an enforcing issue. A bond by DNR is very specific as to what that bond is good for. The gentleman made a very good comment regarding cleanup. Even though you have it in the covenant, as an LLC, it's very easy to walk away because it's cheaper to walk away than it is to cover the losses. In front of you, you have a package very specific to the zoning issue in front of you tonight regarding EWS and zoning map changes. The comprehensive plan does not identify this area as being zoned as proposed. You have in front of you suggestions regarding adding additional surety bonds. As I said, as an LLC, you're not even asking for liability insurance. It's apparent that they have submitted some type of document giving you extra protection. But again, that's only as good as this company is in business. If they walk away, there's not, you collect a nominal amount of money off of this property each year from taxes. Doesn't even begin to pay for the losses that are being occurred to do this.
Have you been on time, Bob? Have you been on time?
I highly ask that you consider, before voting on this, for you just to take the evening to read the material in front of you with the documentation, and rule on this afterwards, because apparently through the agenda, it wasn't put in the order in the correct manner, so you could review the information. This company has come in and they have got additional LLCs that they've established. One of them is Live Free or Die. Another one is Owen County Industrial LLC. So there are a lot of other things in play right now. And you have the material in front of you. There is no hurry for you to make this ruling. You have an opportunity to review the information. And as I'll permit, as I will be permitted to say in a minute, the zoning map does not allow for this. And a hearing to change the zoning map is required. The attorney said it is a courtesy that we're being allowed to make a public comment. To change the zoning map, it is a public hearing. And this is an ordinance to actually change the zoning map, not to change a particular zoning ordinance.
30 seconds. You got 30 seconds left, ma'am.
I'm done until my time.
I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What was the statement you said regarding the comprehensive plan? Would you repeat that? You had made a statement, a lengthy statement about what comprehensive plan are you in reference to?
The Owen County Comprehensive Plan, initiated in 2010, I believe is the date, is the governing body that identifies land usage and has in that a zoning map. According to the regulations, although you say the comprehensive plan is not law, it is required to be followed. And we go through our checklist to say this is not in violation of the comprehensive plan. And these are rubber stamped. The current comprehensive plan definitively addresses this area differently. If you look, and I brought the maps, the published zoning map, the map that appears on the Owen County ETIS site, they do not agree. When you look at the tax basis, they do not agree. The comprehensive plan, so the state of Indiana provides statute and ISC that provides you with regulatory requirements as to when you are doing something in opposition as to how something is zoned. You can do spot zoning, and that doesn't fall under the police state. But when you're changing a zoning map, that is a hearing. And this actually is a change of the zoning map. And the two prior documents that were filed, which is an economic comprehensive plan and the redevelopment that the comprehensive plan is referring to, they've arbitrarily gone in and changed zoning maps without the involvement of the Owen County people as a part of that
Okay.
process.
You've more than answered my question.
Thank you.
I call for a vote.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, this is, Mark, you said it's number 20, is that correct for the ordinance?
Do I have a copy of that?
I don't,
Jim, you must have the only copy, I guess.
Okay, you don't have, okay, because this has been sent before, all right. So this is an ordinance, number 2022-20, ordinance to amend the Owen County zoning and subdivision control ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County of Indiana, Section 1, the Owen County zoning and subdivision control ordinance as amended hereby amends and rezone the following description of real estate situated in Washington Township, Owen County, Indiana. This is tax code number 60-10-34-400-600.000.2, This is part of the east half of the southeast quarter of the 34 Township 10, north, range 03, west, Owen County, Indiana, for particularly described as follows. As the legal description, I'll just beginning at north 00 degrees, it continues, your full legal description is on this. It continues down to the end, where it says that True Point containing 0.41 acres, more or less, containing 2.74 acres, more or less in all. This area is more commonly known as 2333 State Highway 43, Spencer, Indiana, 47460. Tax parcel number 60-10-34-400-600.000-027. The above described real estate should hereby be rezoned from commercial to heavy industrial. This ordinance shall be in full force and in effect from the day it's adopted, whether it's adopted or passed or denied by the Board of Commissioners of Owen County in a regular meeting held on today's date, which is October 17th. October 17th of 2022. Board of Commissioners are as follows: Gary Burke, President; Robert Curry, Vice President; and Joel as Commissioner, attested by Sheila Reeves. Commissioners, when you vote, there will be a place on here will be your vote for yea or nay, and it'll be a place for your signature. We also, Commissioners, you've been certified in findings of fact on here, where you would approve and then sign and then date here. So you have the findings of fact, your certification, and then you have your ordinance. I'm trying to give any questions on the procedures of the.
Is that 20?
That's 20.
And there's, what is it, 20, and there's your findings of fact.
Thank you. And again, Jim, I'm gonna ask you one more time, they have met the criteria that the commissioners have asked of them.
You have asked specifically for the criteria. They have provided for you that they do in fact have a bond. They have, so this is just a rezone request.
Correct.
So they actually have to go to an IDEM for a permit.
Correct.
And they have provided to you a commitment concerning the use and development of the real estate. And they have put the different uses, statement of commitment, they have put the testing, the binding effect. This would be recorded if so passed by you as commissioners, and it can be enforced by the Owen County zoning ordinance.
Thank you. With that being said, gentlemen, do I hear a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-20?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that
I
motion.
have a second by Mr. Lowell. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, that was the next.
Got too many papers here.
Yours on this one.
There's another one of those. We'll give that to Jim. All right. Beth Cossum. Good evening.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Go right ahead, Beth.
All right, well, I come before you today because I do need formal approval from the commissioners and the council based upon our budget request that was passed to be able to, for CASA to apply for the matching grant, the state matching grant, and the capacity building grant that are offered to us annually by Indiana State CASA through the Indiana Supreme Court for our operations each year. So, what was agreed in the budget was that the county would match $23,537, which was offered to us. And the capacity grant total, I'll have to pull that up really quickly, sorry. For Owen County was
$10,090.
Thank you, yes. Yes, and the matching grant is matched by the county. The capacity grant, if approved by the state, is not matched by the county. That is utilized for the salaries toward the two staff members' salaries each year. So I'm coming before you to ask for the commissioner's approval, and then I will be going before the council to ask for that.
Correct, and this is basically your operation money for the
Yes.
year, correct? And I have all that right here in
Yes,
front of me, so.
you should have copies of it. Does anyone have any questions about? I sent a copy also to Jim this morning, and this is just their standard application.
Go ahead, Jim.
Because I received 3 documents. One would be for the auditor to affirm the fact that the $23,537 had actually been budgeted in. So that
I have it right here.
there. And then then the second document I received was just a list of what all the different counties did receive for the grant. And the third one, the grant itself was not filled out. So what you're doing is just you're approving her to go ahead and apply. So we're not approving the substantive nature of the grant.
Exactly.
This is just purely due to the time levels, yay or nay, to start the process.
Yes, and if, so everyone's clear, Beth made it very clear to me that this is coming up 1st of November, so this process needs to be ran through the commissioners and council approve all grants.
Yes, I must have it signed by the judge and the form signed by the auditor, signed by myself and submitted before the hard deadline date of November 14th. In fairness, they usually get that application to us after the state conference because we have an all-day directors meeting for all the directors in Indiana. Many of the court programs that are court programs, they're facing this same time constraint because we don't get the application forms to be able to get approval to them until sometimes 3 to 4 weeks before they need to be approved.
Thank you,
We have
Beth.
to try to get in there to see the commissioners and the council.
We'll get you out of here and get you home.
Okay.
Gentlemen, do I hear a motion for approval of the CASA operations grant?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion, but
For her approve it.
her approval, yeah,
Yeah.
for her to approve it, yeah, sign it. That's what I meant, excuse me. I've got a motion by Joel,
Second.
seconded by Bob, all in favor? Aye. I'm gonna hand these papers back to you if you need them.
Certainly.
Sheila,
Thank you.
you got everything?
Completed,
Okay.
and I will
I-
get it to you. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. Copy fees. Jim, if you put something together
Now,
on that.
what I would want to do on that, I talked to a number of different departments, so we're gonna be really clear, because there's a different copying, but then there's also, a lot of these departments have like fees, so the auditor starts with A, so it's back there, like they have an auditor endorsement fee. So what I need to do, gentlemen, is just to make sure that when we have total clarity, so when we pass a resolution, as far as the fees, that we can get that. So it's a work in progress, but like in the sheriff, never mind, so I think, because I'd asked him today and just said, don't you have a number of, reports, and he replied in the affirmative, I do. So I need to kind of make
We
sure.
need to work with all the
Work with
departments.
that, and for example, like the recorder has a bunch of statutory, so before we just say, here's a fee, that could cause confusion and clarity. So it is working, it's not forgotten, commissioners, but we're not ready to present that.
Okay, thank you. And you're right, I know that they vary anywhere from $1 to whatever, so we need to make sure that we get that in line. All right. I've got RQAW Engineering on here. I met with them last Tuesday. Scott, can't remember his last name. And he is putting a proposal together to send out, so we'll have something for bid on that project. So hopefully we'll have that here by our next meeting. But him and I did meet. He came down and took notes, went through the building inside and out, and he's ready to go to work on that. So that's about all I've got to report on that at this time. With that being said, I guess we'll move on to Sam.
Just here to talk about the final leg on the jail project before I close out my term as sheriff. We spoke about the jail project numerous occasions and many years. I reached out to Dan Miller from Garmong and Eric Wilson from RQAW. I know the $28 million for the new jail is totally out of line. We can't afford it. The money's not there. The public knows, and I told the public that I would never want to present a plan that would just totally dominate the financial structure of this county, and I'm not going to do that. But I did reach out to Mr. Zerner a few days ago about what we could get for $18 million. You know, what would that take us? How many beds would we get? How much core services could we get? And so on and so forth. My goal was to try to eliminate our biggest liability, which is the jail in this county. You guys all know that, we've talked about it numerous times. Try to get the inmates from the old facility into another facility so we can eliminate that liability issue that we have, which is huge. With that being said, I talked to Dan and Eric sometimes, spoke to Gary again today, talked to Joel, talked to Bob. And I brought it up in numerous public meetings that I've looked for different resources and avenues that I could to help move this project along, or at least steer it in a direction to where we can do something down the road. Now, I know my term's about over. The current sheriff-elect is on board with what I'm talking about as well. But, you know, money's the issue. Money's gonna be the final thing that tells us what we can and what we can't do. And right now, we know we're fairly strapped, so I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Zerner to see what he's come up with. But when Mr. Zerner is done, I have one important question that I'm going to ask him for everybody to hear his answer to this question, but it'll be after his thing. So that won't take too long.
And Sam, with that being said, I've spoke to Dan as well a couple of times, and I think it's important that we let him tell us what we're looking at, what we've got available, and where we need to be. If everybody remembers, back in February or March, we were looking at, here's what we think we can afford, $15 million. And can we build a jail for $15 million? And we were told no. We also looked at, can we refurb the existing jail for $15 million? Yeah, we can do that, but it's only gonna last us 10 years and we're right back to where we're square one. Wasn't an option. And Dan, if I'm telling any of this story wrong, you jump right in there and correct me. So with that being said, we're, what are we, 5-6 months down the road from March, and we're looking at $18 million, and probably with inflation rate, it's probably more like 13 million that's would be the real number as far as the rate of inflation from that time. But Dan, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up for you, and if you can help us out here and explain where we're at and where we need to be, and we'd appreciate that.
I thought about bringing a can of orange spray paint and just let spray paint on my back for a target.
Face off, that'd be on the front.
I got one on my jacket out there.
I'm gonna preface this by saying how tough of an issue I know this is for this community. There are so many that I will tell you, not from a sense of bragging, but just so you have some comfort level. We're doing $1 billion project right now in the state of Indiana. I have $300 million under contract for jails across Indiana currently. The only reason I share that with you is I feel like that my numbers are real. We see what's done every day, what the real numbers are, what the challenges are, and you're not the first community. Right now I have 2 other communities just like you that are in this exact same position. And as I look around this room, most of you have been at every hearing you've had. And so I know it's important to you. And I know that there's not a single person in this room whose heart is in the wrong place. Everybody feels that their heart is exactly where it needs to be. Sam's heart is, I've not ever seen a more proactive sheriff that came from a non-law enforcement background than Sam's did. By the same token, you've got 3 commissioners up here and a county attorney whose responsibility is to be the administrators for this county and watch every dollar that goes out of here. The goals aren't always in alignment. And just to remind everybody, the state statute is, and what could possibly be wrong with this, that the commissioners are required to furnish, maintain, and operate the jail if the sheriff has to operate, with not necessarily them in agreement of what that is. So that makes this extremely difficult. This is a really sensitive issue. So I want to take everybody back to let you know that I first started on this project in a meeting way back with Richard Lorenz and a bunch of people about 8 years ago. That's how long this discussion has been going on. And at that time, and I would also say that these gentlemen have, and Sam too, and the new sheriff coming in, have all inherited this issue. This isn't something that you created, they created, you just inherited it. Your jail is in really bad shape, and it's hard for people here to understand what that means, and some people are say, well, why don't we just put them in a tent, pass them through some food to a fence. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. I want to also be sure you understand that the reports issued by NDOT will not say, or I'm sorry, IDOC, the Indiana Department of Corrections, will not say that you passed or failed. The report only points out if your temperature's off, or if the light bulb's out, or their jail locks aren't working. It doesn't say you passed or failed. What happens that puts a county in liability, and this isn't a threat, I just want to be sure you understand, is just like Vigo County 2 years ago. Some inmates filed a ACL suit that the federal government judge heard, and the judge ruled on the side of the inmates and demanded that Vigo County build a new jail. And when they made that demand, they also get to specify to some extent what you're going to build. And that imposed in Vigo County a cost difference from about 45 or 50 million to about $80 million in your jail construction. So when Sam says he's worried about what's going to happen in the county, he's talking about in terms of a potential suit. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. It shouldn't be a threat. But that's the only real liability you have, is if that lawsuit would occur. But you're never going to have this, the Department of Corrections tell you your jail passes or fails. That's just not they just don't do that. I would say right now, I've probably been in 30, 35 of the 92 jails in Indiana. But by what I'm told and what I've seen, your jail is not the worst, but it's probably in the bottom 5 of what's out there. So it's definitely at a point where if a new jail doesn't get built, what's going to happen is that you're going to have to spend the money that you've all set aside for a new jail, probably for maintenance to some degree. I mean, it's just got to be maintained. You can't let it not function, right?
Correct.
So everybody I want the public to understand that that's where you really are at this point in time. I'll go back in history and repeat a little bit of what Commissioner Burke said. We spent almost a year and a half developing these documents. They were not done in a vacuum. These are not what Garmong or HWC, I'm sorry, Garmong or RQAW said that you had to have. These were developed with the sheriff and his team, his people, and the commissioners is what you needed in a new jail. I will say that Garmong and RQAW also provided the latest jail standard requirements to be sure you met those in the new jail, because you don't want to build an old jail and a new jail and have it not be able to meet current requirements. But for the most part, the size, the number of people, the facilities required, the rooms required, the space required, the transportation systems within the jail required, the security required, all came as a result of the sheriff's input and the commissioners. When that was done, the total cost that we presented in March was $28,400,000. Numbers. I will tell you that my job is to be sure when I give those numbers that they are reasonable enough in terms of the amount that should, once bidding occurs and the county goes to bond, that you have enough money, right? But I always tell my clients a little bit more than I think it's going to actually be, which is proven out of bid time. And I will tell you that traditionally my bids are within, my initial estimates at this phase, which by the way, we're probably 30% design right now, 35%. My estimates are generally within 15% of what it's gonna cost to build. So if you take 28 million, and I am that good, and inflation hasn't blown us out, 15% of that is approximately $4 million in round numbers. So in my mind, we can probably build this jail if we do some value engineering and really get aggressive. We could probably build this jail for somewhere between 25 and $26 million. That's where I think the nut really falls right now. But I'm not gonna tell my client that, because bid time, we've gotta be sure we have the capacity, if it comes to that 28.5, that we can fully do it. Otherwise, this project's a failed exercise.
Can I stop you just a second? Is that including soft cost?
Yeah.
Okay.
28.5 was 100% all in,
That's fees up front, everything.
bond costs, everything,
Gotcha. Okay.
okay? Which are a big number.
Yeah, we're talking about,
I will share with you all that the actual construction cost of that 28.5 million.
make sure everybody understands that.
22.5 million. About 6 million of that's attorney's fees, bonding, construction, engineering, all those other things. So Sam gave me a challenge and asked me, would we being RQW&E, come back and provide what you could possibly buy for $18 million? Now, I don't know where $18 million came from. I don't know what that number means, and I'm not here to question that number, but why can the county afford 18 if it can't afford 28? I don't know where that comes from. But the answer to that is, could we build something for 28 million? We could probably build a housing pod by itself for $18 million. A housing pod would be a building that holds jail cells. That's where the inmates could live. But keep in mind that housing pod does not include any core services. That doesn't include booking, which is key to the jail. That would also have a body scanner in it, things you need to receive. That would include laundry. And by the way, you're building a pod to probably put 120, 150 inmate capacity in for right now, laundry is done for 30.
Yeah, built for 32, yes.
Built for 32. You're going to try to feed 120, 150 inmates 3 times a day on a kitchen, assuming we can attach it to the old building. That's pretty much shot, but it's designed for 32. There are no mental health services available. There's no detective room, although Sam's built that out separate, so we'll kind of leave that out, assuming that Sam's offices that he's built in, which was pretty creative, in the old storage buildings. So they say, and we don't need those, but you certainly need some admin staff. You need room for a nurse. You need room for attorney-client visits. You need all these other things that we can't get in that $18 million. So the thought is, at what point are you going to be able to come back and be able to put that other $6 million on? If you're stressed out to put 18 to begin with, and by the time you come around to build that 6 or 8, it's probably gonna be 10 or 12. So the answer is, and I appreciate why Sam's asking, trying to move the process forward. Yeah, we could probably give you a housing pod for $18 million. But I don't know how that affects your flow, I don't know how that affects your parking, I don't know how we incorporate any of those other services. And I think the question you all have to ask, including Sam and all of you, is if we spend 18 million on the housing pod now, how do the operations work? How do we tie the security in? How do we tie the cameras in? How do we tie the flow of the officers in? How does the Sally Port and the transportation work and the booking work? I'm just afraid, personally, I'm just afraid if we do it and keep in mind, I'm a construction company. I'd love to spend $18 million of money, but I want to spend it for the right reasons and have the right outcome. And I'm not sure that if we spend $18 million, that I'm going to be able to get you there. So I don't know whether I've answered any questions or I've caused more questions, but that's sort of my rambling, if you will.
Well, you've answered a lot of questions for me, and I'm assuming you have for these gentlemen as well, and they're more than happy to speak on their behalf. But again, like you said, we do 18 million for a pod. We've got water and sewer issues still. How do we hook those up to this pod when we already have issues in the existing jail? Those are just small issues. But down the road, to finish this thing up, Now we're at, $12 million based on inflation, or who knows, maybe more than that.
I don't want to plant numbers, but.
Right, but then we're over,
You're definitely north of the difference between 2018.
right. So now we're pushing 30 somewhere in that ballpark, could be. And again, the commissioner, this board has done everything that needs to be done to move forward with the jail. We've done the feasibility study. We've checked everything out, every option. As far as this board's concerned, we're ready to move forward. But until financing comes to us, and obviously we're not going to approve or take a vote on building a new jail until we know how this thing's gonna be financed. So I know in the last meeting, I said I'd be the first one to dig the hole. Jill jumped in, said he'd help. And I still feel that way. But nobody has come forward, and Amy's sitting here from the council, and I'm not picking on Amy in no way, shape, or form. But the council has gonna have to come to us and say, here's our plan. You give us a solid plan, and then we can put this thing to a vote. At the last council meeting, I had Dan and I had Jeff Peters on the schedule for the council, and it was removed to come in and talk about jail financing, and along with the commissioners, so we could get something going. And it was scratched from the agenda. It's not like we're not trying here, but until we get some financing on the table, our hands are tied.
Are there any questions from anybody here that I can answer?
Have you guys explored the privatized jail route by chance? Or does the county have to maintain a provided jail?
We do not have to, and we've checked with other counties about a joint venture. There's some of those out there. We've checked every option, and no one is willing to participate in handling our prisoners.
And there's not a private company that's willing to come?
Not that we're aware of.
I think what you're asking is like the state of Indiana has privatized prisons.
Yeah.
Is that what you're in reference to? Not necessarily,
Like Plainfield and.
right, or Miami and things of that
This
nature.
isn't your population.
I don't know that that's been
Your population's not big enough for a private company to look to.
How do you know?
The efficiencies aren't there. I deal with that every day. We're not
Well,
a $1 million project.
I know that, but I mean, would it cost us anything to ask?
It costs you $2.5 million a year to send 72 inmates to the other facilities.
Yeah.
$2.5 million a year. That's what it costs.
We've weighed all these options out, we really have.
On that, and I wanna touch base on something that Dan said. I was with Dan at the meeting in Lorenz's office 8 years ago. I'm sitting over at my table. That's how long I've been on. The state of Indiana has stuck it to the counties. I'll just say it like this, you can say yes or no. I started working in the jail, and my chief deputy's listening to this, I'm sure he'll comment. We had state jail inspections. Back then, the state jail inspector, great guy, I won't mention his name, he's retired now, ex-former law enforcement officer, sheriff. When he came down and did jail inspection, he told you exactly everything was wrong. He did, not about the water leaks, he talked about the problems. Well, the state of Indiana took that away from the jail inspectors. They are no longer allowed to tell you how bad your facility is in, or you need a new facility, or this, that. As long as you have one officer on staff at any given time, you have somebody watching your inmates. That's all they care about. They care about the lights, how much light, do you have enough lights, so on and so forth. So Dan is right. The reason the state done this is just my 2 cents, is because if the states would have continued to say the jails, you gotta have a new jail, you gotta do this and do that, it would have put the burden on the state to help us with these jails. I've said in many meetings and asked the state, what can you do to help us with building new facilities? You know what they tell you? We're not going to help you build a new facility. But what they will tell you is, Sheriff, we want you to house mental health people, sex offenders, and so on and so forth. We want you to give you a mental health addiction program. They want you to do all these things, but they don't provide any money for you to do them.
They actually stopped that about a year after they started sending the level 6 felons down.
Yeah, so it's a catch-20 situation, and for us, and Dan answered the question that I was going to ask you. And throughout the state of Indiana, I've been to a lot of jails myself. And Dan said, we're not the worst, but we're in the top 5 of the worst jails. And we know that, the commissioners know that. The public knows that. John Barnley is the insurance guy sitting around here in the back row, he knows that. He's rolled up, he's been there and he's seen it. That's the only reason I came here tonight. I'm not defending nobody, proud of anybody, but as a sheriff, it is my responsibility to provide safety, not only for the inmates, but for my workers. And for the last 2 years, this is our 2nd year collecting the public safety tax. It's only a 22-year tax. It runs out in 22 years. There's no extension for that. And Jim, if I'm correct, I believe we got a little over $1 million saved up from that.
1.2 million, Sheriff.
1.2 million, so we'll have a little bit more by the end of the year. That's great, that's all wonderful and everything. But somewhere down the road here in the next couple of years, something's going to have to happen with the jail. Either we're gonna be able to finance a new jail somewhere or somehow, or you're gonna have to shut the public safety tax plumb down. Because you're taking it from the taxpayers, and the $1.2 million that we got right now, if the commissioners can work something out next year with the council, that's great, or a couple of years down the road, but you only have a couple of years to continue collecting this public safety tax before you have to cut it off. Because you're not doing any favors to the taxpayers. And eventually, the 10 or 12 or 15 million we're talking about for just a renovation of the old turd that we're in right now, and I've said it's like polishing the turd down there. Eventually, that money that we've got saved up is going to have to be spent on this current facility. I could spend $1.2 million tomorrow and never bat an eye at this old facility. I personally, and I'll take all the full responsibility, for the last 2 years, I purposely didn't spend any more money at the jail than we had to, and you guys know that, especially you two. For this particular reason, so we could save that money, so we could utilize it either to build something, renovate, or whatever the case may be. But you're in a time crunch. Dan told you 8 years ago we was in this meeting, and now it's 8 years later. You know, I thank everybody for all their help and what they've done, commissioners, council, and citizens for standing behind me and stuff. I know my time is short here. I just wanted to make sure that you understand, because I'm a taxpayer too. I may be going away as a sheriff, but I'm not going away as a taxpayer. And it's a big concern of mine about this 36-year-old dinosaur that you just have down there that has got some serious problems. That's all I got here.
Thank you, Sam. And I agree. I've toured that jail. You know I have. I've been down there with you. I've seen some of the problems. Bottom line is, we've got an expert sitting right here that tells us that we're not going to build anything less for $28 million.
Yeah.
I can't change that. Audience can't change that. Commissioners, council, we can't change that. It's reality. So with that being a reality, we need to come together and figure out how we're going to pay for this thing.
Yeah.
Or we're going to shut this tax down so we're not continuing to hit the taxpayers.
Well, Gary, we need to do it in short order. We're facing everybody knows an economical downturn.
Sure.
Feds are raising rates, you know, things are starting.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing we hadn't even talked about is since March, we've had 2 points or 3 points.
Yeah, the feds are bringing it up, property values going down, and, you know. We gotta get our heads together. I mean, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it in short order, certainly, but it doesn't look real well in the current economy, and the forecast of the current economy is not in good shape, folks. It's just not.
And it's gonna take, like Eric said, and Joel and everybody, and Dan, it's gonna take all of us working together to come to some sort of resolution or resolve, you know. People hear people, what Dan said, well, just feed them bread and water. Well, you can't. It's not allowed. And the reason that I feed the inmates so well, and as public, I've said it many times, I feed the inmates very well. First of all, they're human beings, and we're gonna treat them well. And you know, I'm not the judge, jury, or the executioner. but we keep the peace when you feed people. Anybody ever get hungry, and after you eat, don't you feel very like to lay down and take a nap? Everybody sitting here does, ain't nobody gonna shake their head, no. It's the same way with them. You feed them good, and they'll tell you, the inmates will tell you that, if I gotta go to jail somewhere, I'd rather be arrested over in Owen County, because I know I'm getting paid. It's not because I'm trying to butter anybody up, it's simply, it's easier on the staff, it's easier on the inmates. We gotta do what we gotta do to help keep peace, and it works.
I got one more comment, we can move on unless somebody else has got something, and we'd worked on this, Jim had worked on this, and I think the number was 20 million roughly. We were looking at a payment at 6%, is that pretty close? We were looking at about a $2.2 million payment per year. With the jail tax, with what we've got left, now there's 1.2 million in there that we could use to pay for some of these soft costs such as that, but there's about $700,000 per year that will be able to be used towards this payment out of the jail lit fund. I'm pretty close there, aren't I, Sam? So with that being said, the difference has to come out of the county general or lit edit. The county does not have those funds. So that's what I want to make sure that everybody understands. And as these interest rates go up, that 2.2 turns into 2.5, 2.6. It doesn't get any better. Construction costs continue to go up. So Joe, you're right. The sooner the better. But if it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of work to do. And Jim, I'll jump back to you. Wasn't it around 20 million the original that we were working on that payment structure?
Those were just purely what you would call ballpark figures, but unfortunately, the 2 million per year figure got there fairly early.
The 28 million, we would normally say it's about 2.8 million a year.
Yeah.
So that means the county would have to come up with $2.1 million in addition to the jail lit tax that we're already taking out of your people's paychecks every week. We're maxed out on our jail lit tax.
So somehow the math isn't adding up quite yet here. So we're spending money, are we conflating operation dollars that we're spending today with this $2.2 million? So Sam already has an operations budget today, right?
Yeah, that's separate from this tax.
So I'm trying to understand how the $700,000 that we're getting now equal $20 million somehow.
No.
That's so somehow the math isn't adding up. So are we short to get the 20 million? Or did we think we were gonna get from the separate jailers tax, the 20 million? Just trying to understand.
I can help answer some of that.
Go ahead, Sam.
So, Mike, we collect $865,000 a year in the public safety tax. If you just remember out here, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before the public safety tax was passed right out here, we told the public safety tax is your first tax that's coming. That, or your correctional facility tax will be your first tax, that's what we passed first.
Yeah, that's a 0.20 on
Yes.
income tax.
And that's what we're collecting now, is that, correctional facility tax. We also told the public out here that your next tax that was coming relatively shortly would be your public safety tax. That tax got passed. Those two were supposed to combine together to help pay for the new jail facility with money left over. So far, everybody's on track, right? Problem of it is, the county's financial situation, and Amy's here, she can testify to this. When they got to digging into the financial situation, our financial situation was so bad that the council had to take my whole entire budget, the sheriff's budget, the whole entire budget is being paid now out of the public safety tax. This is the first year for that, but it left no money on the table for the new jail project. My whole entire budget will be paid out of the public safety tax next year. Okay, there's no money left from that tax on the table for the jail project, correct? Okay, and until the county gets in a situation to where they do not have to take my whole entire budget and pay it out of the public safety tax, there is no money to go with the correctional facility tax to build a new facility. That's where the hard knocks come, and Dan's talked about it, Jim's talked about it, is we're going to have to do some figuring out exactly what we can do. We know what we can't do with the jail. We know what we can't do with building a new facility. We already know that. We got to know what we can do. And if that means just spending the money on the current jail that we have now, refurbishing it the best we can until, years down the road we have more money, that is a decision that the commissioners are going to have to make. And that's the reason I said it needs to be done relatively soon, because we're in a situation.
And Mike, to go back to touch on your point, if you remember, the county was in the red about $4 million. That was the way to dig them out. We didn't have anything to do with it. That was council's decision to make those decisions. But that's where most of that money went.
So Mike, your question was really good. The .20 generates $865,000. By the way, 20% of that .20 is capped that can be used for actual wages or anything else. That's all it can be used out of. Everything else has to go to the maintenance of the current facility or the construction of the new facility. And then the balance was going to come from the increase in the public safety tax, which is now taking its department.
And if that would have occurred, would have worked out according to plan, we could have built a new facility to the tune of $15 or $16 million that we talked about years ago. It would already been built.
So we're planning on a 20-year lifespan here, what we talked about with respect to the time that's remaining in the tax. And you have a $4 million problem, you're digging yourself out of that hole in the next year or two. And so somehow or another, you can't pick up the pencil and sharpen it and say, you know what, I'm gonna be getting $800,000 plus $700,000 or $800,000. And that's $1.5 million. And I don't have to say that that entire $1.5 million goes down to pay for this $28 million project over 20 years, because, gosh, that's $30 million. Now, I know there's more to it than that, but at the highest level, you're not even though we talk about, well, everything's gonna go up, inflation, costs, everything's going up. I don't know what you were saying about property taxes, but I haven't seen any property taxes go down. Somewhere in the calculator, there should be.
I never said a thing about property taxes going down.
That the basis, the denominator number is going up, right? We should be at least looking at a scenario that says, well, if we actually grew the income base in the county, then that would mean that the 800 wouldn't be stuck at 800,000 for 20 years. It would be going up by a certain percent.
Mike, that discussion's happened time and time again. We all know the county needs to grow. We all know that.
Well, but somehow we get ourselves in this paralysis where we say to ourselves, we can't make a decision about the future because I am stuck in today.
I think we just talked about that the county and the council, the commissioners, that we needed to come together and figure out a solution. I know that was just a conversation. Did we just all have that conversation? Okay.
So then I know, because I was here in March when that other conversation was happening. I stood up and I said, you guys can't make that decision in March. You're kicking the can down the road and you're not gonna make the damn decision when it needs to get made. And so now here we are in October, and maybe that's only a short time frame for everybody else in the world. But Sam's, going down the road, everybody else has got their lives to try to figure out, and while all this is happening, the jail's still, the problem that it is. And so if you say, what you just said, Gary, we're gonna get together and talk about it.
No, I said we need to get together. I can't get all the troops together, but we need to get together.
So that's.
I don't have that power.
I don't know who has the power then. Who has the power? I'm gonna ask that.
Well, it's between the commissioners and the council.
Okay.
Taxpayers.
No. The taxpayers can vote on November or whatever, but that's not where the power, we're talking about trying to talk to people. So here we are in this public meeting and we're talking about, well, we're gonna get, here's somebody and here's somebody. Set a meeting. For God's sakes, we all have technology in our hands. Set a freaking meeting and get around the table.
Mike, did you not just hear me say that I had the financial people and Dan on last council meeting and it got scratched? I had them on there to discuss that.
And so so I'm frustrated, okay? So set a meeting and actually attend. Have the meeting, because nothing's getting done.
I agree with you 100%. Any other questions on this? We beat it to death for 4 years, and Sam beat it to death for 4 more. Yeah, go right ahead, Dan.
I said, did I answer your question?
Yeah, oh, yes. You guys have any other questions?
No, I don't.
No, absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Appreciate you coming, Dan. Moving on to Chris, EMS bids. Now, Chris has plenty of money, so there's no need for discussion here.
Chris doesn't have anything, EMS has. I talked to Jim about the bid specs, and, those are coming up for
If we can do
November.
these on November 7th, he's got the preliminary bid specs ready. What we can have then is a contract proposal, a bidder's instruction, very similar to a highway packet. Then what would happen, commissioners, if you approve this proposal on the 7th, it can be advertised 2 times, and I think we're looking at it, December would be the return date of the bids.
Okay.
We can have that done on the 7th.
And we're still looking at a year down the road to see this thing anyway, correct, Chris?
At least.
At least, okay.
And just to let you guys know what I did, to try to solve the issue with the hire load system was, I left in the specs this time, the antler style or the antler style mounts. And then I put in as alternate option bids to purchase the power loader and install it. And then another alternate was for us to, how much it would cost for us to purchase the power load, which we know is going to be a substantial savings.
So you're adding an amendment to the proposal.
Yep, in 2 different ways. One us buying it and one them buying it.
And that's going out to all potential bidders that same way.
Correct, and this will be a sealed bid package, so it's gonna be advertised twice, so I mean, this, actually, really anyone in the United States could go ahead and bid for this.
So then the only other thing I have is I talked to Sheila a while ago to try to figure out, the council voted in their last meeting to move forward with paying off the EMS building. So I asked Sheila how we go about doing that. And I guess we need to find out how much payoff is on a certain date, but that would have to be
An out claim cycle.
out of cycle claim, so that if I found out what the payoff was tomorrow, by the time it goes through the claim system again, we've got interest for the next, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Right, well, the next commissioners meeting would be the 7th, so if you could get payoff with interest to that point.
Is that what it's gonna be?
But, I mean, I think that's probably the best.
You wanna do it in a regular
Yep,
cycle, okay?
we're only talking about 2 weeks away here, so that would give them time to calculate that out to that point. We would have a definite.
Well, that's why I was asking, I didn't know how you.
That's my opinion. If you guys got anything else?
I was just looking at the
3 weeks
date.
out.
Yeah, November the 7th. So when we call the bank, you can let them know that we need an exact payoff with interest to that point.
Now, if it gets approved in the November 7th meeting, can I get a check that
Same
day,
day.
or you
Yes.
guys send it that same day or whatever?
Yes,
That way we don't.
No, I mean, it's not a problem for us to sign out a cycle. We can be here earlier in the day or sign it in that meeting, however you want to do it. I would suggest that we do it on that 7th and get them the check on that same day.
7th, okay, I can do that.
You can hand deliver that.
Yeah. Definitely could. So, comments, concerns, issues with EMS?
I don't.
Go home, get some rest.
Thank you.
Highway.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Greg. Look, we're out as usual.
Commissioners, you all received a phone call from me last week that, I believe the highway department was at, the critical breaking point. We lost 2 more employees last week. I've talked to each and every one of you. I've talked with, several council members, including Council President Chesser, in regard to this issue, and working on a plan in regard to some raises that we're going to have to, I think that are gonna have to be made, or we're going to continue to lose people. Credit needs to be given where credit's due, and I won't mention names, but different input from taxpayers, attending meetings, and watching on YouTube, and passing on via email. We have taken suggestions and ran with them in regard to reducing staff and being able to give raises. Commissioners, I've been without several employees most of the year. I know there are concerns in regard to lower revenue, but there is, in fact, monies that could be spent on our current employees to try to keep them. So what I put together is a proposal. I'd spoken with you earlier to cut 4. I've changed that proposal, to actually cut 2. And with the raise, that will be given at the first of the year, that would give my employees a $2.43 raise across the board. Commissioners, I respectfully request that we be able to move forward to the council meeting on November 14th to present this, and ask for each and every one of you to assist in regard to making this happen, or we're not gonna have people to push snow. When you look at the spreadsheet in front of you, shows 10 vacant spots. You could add 3 more to that, commissioners, that just are on this sheet. Today, when we honor a vacation, and we have a individual who lost a mother-in-law, today there were 9 people who worked at the highway department. We're attempting to finish chip and seal, prep for winter, along with normal everyday working on potholes. Commissioners, it can't be done. We're asking people, now people ask about morale. When you call people 24 hours a day and ask them to come out, and ask them to come out, and ask them to come out, and they do that for you, and they've done that for me, at some point, gentlemen, they get tired. And those people are tired. Something must be done now. So.
Greg, can you tell me at that, would you say $2 and some change?
$2.43.
What does that come out to on a year's average total increase?
For the entire.
Just per person, I guess.
Most of that will bring most of the guys, I've got them, some will go up to as much as $24 an hour, puts everybody above 20.
Okay. So probably kind of in the same line as what the sheriff did with his budget and his deputies, somewhere in that ballpark, probably a little bit less. I think most of Sam's are around 10,000. I think when you and I spoke earlier, we were looking at about 7,300 or something in that area, which is substantial. But we can't run a highway department with 9 people. Impossible. Do we have a total savings for your department by reducing the staff and raising these amounts? Is there a reduction in your budget, or is it staying the
Well,
same?
there is a reduction, and it's not as much as, we had first spoken about when we moved to 2 people, reducing to 2 people and keeping the, raise high, or higher, reduces my savings, greatly from what we originally spoke of, but we still have a savings in the budget of $1,490.38. I believe with the monies left for this year, if it could go in front of the council, there wouldn't need to be any appropriations because, the money's already appropriated, correct, Sheila? I don't want to misspeak, but the money's already appropriated. The last 2 payrolls of the year, if the council would approve, we could put this into effect.
So you want to put it in effect immediately upon its approval?
Yes.
Absolutely. Greg, we've talked about it, you've pushed it around, and, I'm on board with it.
I don't think we need to discuss it anymore. We've talked to you individually.
It's not counting.
Unless you have something else, we'll take it to a vote.
I'd like you to take it to a vote, and then, again, we have a council meeting coming up on the 14th. I request each and every one of you attend.
Well, if this being said, I make a motion that we, I'm sorry, Sheila, go right ahead.
Actually, they meet again on the 27th. It's 2 weeks sooner.
Can I get in that? I thought that was budget only. If I could get on that meeting, I'd like to.
We have a couple other things.
Can't you just go ahead and do it?
Okay, well,
I don't know why you can't either.
Well, if there's no, and you want me to ask, I don't believe where people can hear it. So I asked Gary Burton, if no appropriations are needed, my question being, if we do this, why can't it be implemented immediately?
Well,
You're taking the salary limits.
Oh, right. Okay, yep, we talked
You're right,
about
I
it.
forgot about that.
Okay, and you're right, and
So it's adjustment to
that falls
salary.
under the realm of the council.
we talked about, sorry, Greg,
So, yes, you know, we can go on October 27th. That would be
I'll
perfect.
verify for the 27th. If not, then it'll be the 14th, but either way. And the 12th, I believe, starts a new pay cycle. So if you could make the motion and the council approves it to start it at the pay cycle.
When's the next council meeting?
The 27th, Thursday.
Well, that isn't too far off.
No.
No, it's great if we could get on for that date.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the pay scale plan for the highway department presented by Mr. Milton? With that to be presented to the county council on October the 27th.
I'll make that,
Go ahead, Bob.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
Second by Mr. Lowell. All in favor? Aye.
I need a copy of that to get to the council, or you need to send it to the council too.
I've emailed one of these to Polly already. Commissioners, the next thing that I have for the agenda was a resubmission of highway request in regard to ARPA. We have did some recalculation in regard to roads in question. Commissioners, Combs Road would like to submit in regard to ARPA on the next plan of $216,913.10.
What's that again, Greg?
$216,913.10. Orchard Heights, $54,300.65. Hillcrest Addition, $58,501.55. And Farmers Road at $60,079.50.
ask Greg, those are recalculations from the last,
Yes.
okay, and how much has that increased the overall cost of that project?
Well, Commissioner,
Go ahead.
when we first submitted, Combs Road, we were able to, submit at, $78 a ton. Today I have to submit at $104.50 a ton for the asphalt. Well, each and every one of the roads will be, presented at $104.50 a ton for the asphalt.
Still under the 500,000 that we had asked.
I guess that's what are we still under the?
Yes. Now, Commissioners, what we had to do was we had to make a projection, because we won't be able to do these projects until spring. So that's the best we can do right now.
Yeah.
And part of that ARPA plan is still in the wings. There's not been an ARPA plan for the second round of money been approved yet. I know the county council voted the other night to go ahead and use $1 million of that to pay down county debt, but that vote is null because there is no ARPA plan. We have not voted on it. We presented them with a plan originally to use some of that money to pay for courthouse staff raises. They chose not to, so we represented the other night a $500,000 adjustment into the highway, and that was rejected. So there still is no plan. So again, there's another situation until the commissioners and the council come together.
Exactly.
That money will sit in those accounts forever. And that's where we're at with that. And it's a shame because as we sit and talk about this, we've talked about jail, now we're talking about inflation and roads. This stuff continues to go up. And the sooner we get a plan together and implement it, the sooner we no longer have to pay Barnes and Thornburg.
Yep.
And as long as this is on the books, we keep throwing them money to deal with this plan. And it needs to be stopped immediately. Gentlemen, have any comment on that? Jim, what's that fee that we pay per month?
$25.
So every month, until this thing is resolved, we're paying a law firm $2,500 a month. We're wasting our money. We're wasting your money. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I guess we need a vote for that to go to the council meeting.
With this proposal?
Yes.
Can you give us a grand total? Is anybody?
I didn't, I was going to.
Can you do that real quick, Joe? I don't want to make a motion until I have an exact figure.
My handy dandy calculator out here.
Sheila's got one of
216,9 what, Greg?
Or
216,913.
216, 913, 82, 50520. 54, 300.65.
I had a 54 and a 58, 16,
Okay,
and 216.
Yeah, you should have 54, 365, Sheila. 58, 501.55. I don't know what the last one is. I didn't get it, a 60 something. 60, his last one was 60,000, I believe,
89, I think he said.
Here's your copy, Sheila.
Okay.
We'll get it right here in a minute.
Yeah, add some numbers. $472,300.
Okay. And it is less than the 500 originally.
472, 300 even.
Even.
Well, that doesn't leave a lot of cushion. Were those projections,
Gotta start somewhere.
was that multiplier cushiony enough, I mean, to do it in the spring, when you recalculated that?
Commissioners, I used a number that the industry believes is the correct number to use, but we have been fooled. If you ask the sheriff about the jail, if you ask Chris about his ambulances, we've been fooled time and time again.
Sure, okay.
So those are the numbers that I am required to use. I cannot inflate it
Okay,
into a number that is incorrect. These are
okay,
honest numbers that I could give you.
absolutely, that's all.
And Joel, we got some options with this. If we go ahead and pass this and approve it come springtime, if the highway department's got extra funds.
Sure.
We can throw in the difference.
Sure.
We can look at lit edit. There's money available.
That's what I was
some different
asking, just to
options.
make sure that the initial was gonna be enough.
And it's below the 500.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking.
Yep.
So with that being said, I'll ask for a motion for approval of Greg's ARPA plan at a total of $472,300 for the said roads. Do I hear that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Joel. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners. My apologies, I didn't have that total.
It's all right.
Next thing that needs put out, and Jim's already touched base on it, but I just want to speak on it just a moment. Jim is preparing the annual bids. I believe he'll have those prepared to go out in the next meeting. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, we could definitely have them ready. In fact, Commissioner, if you want to approve them, I mean, they're ready to go.
Okay.
But we can wait on the 7th.
Well, I'm actually ready too. The quicker I get them out, the better I am.
Did you get a copy of?
I have not. Did I? You got them in here?
Rachel was supposed to print it out copies for all of them.
Okay.
Here's,
Commissioner, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Cars and everything.
Commissioner, so while you're getting the paperwork, this is the annual bid for the highway. The reason we're looking at the date for today, if this does work for you. The first publication would go out on October 26th. The second publication would go out November 9th. And then December 5th would be the date where we would have to go ahead and review. We can wait, but then you're looking at probably the Christmas Eve type meeting for the annual bid. And all the previous bids terminate on December 31st of 2022. So if these meet your approval tonight, this requires 2 publications. There's a notice for the annual bids that's already prepared. This would be at your 9 o'clock meeting on December 5th of 2022. The categories are aggregates, 2 is bituminous mixtures, 3 is culverts, 4 is guardrails, 5 is gasoline, diesel combined, and 6 is motor oils and lubricants. So this is, in essence, the exact same packet and types that you have bid out the previous 2 years.
Jim, with that being said, and I know that we've run into issues with motor oil in the past and also with fuel. Greg, can you give me your opinion on shopping that fuel and motor oil on the open market? There's a lot of times that fluctuates going up and down. I know that we ran into that last year on the oil quote. You ended up asking you if you could buy that through local or whatever different suppliers. So I really don't want to put that out for bid if you think we can do better shopping the open market. And I feel that fuel's kind of the same way.
I stand on the lubricants that I believe we could shop open market for those. In regard to the fuel, the way fuel has fluctuated and the way the suppliers are and our inability to store large quantities of fuel. I believe that we probably should go ahead and bid because I've been able to work with the current winner this year. I think whoever wins the bid will be able to work with in regard to locking in prices by the month based on our estimated fuel consumption.
Okay, are we gonna bid it out that way for monthly pricing? Is that what we're saying here? I wanna make sure I understand that.
At least at this packet here, this is a firm bid. So I'm just gonna pick a number, if the fuel comes back at $3.99 a gallon, that's $3.99. I mean, that's what this packet is, these are firm
Right.
costs for the entire year.
Buzz, and I'll remind the commissioner, we couldn't get anybody to bid fuel last year.
That's what I was thinking, that's why I said about just putting it on open market.
The person that gave interest, we worked with.
Okay,
Commissioners, if I may, just, and this is more legalese than anything else. If you bid this out, and let's say no one applies for categories 5 and 6, you then have the legal authority then to go to the special purchasing methods, where it's a little more leeway, but until that is done, you haven't sent it out for bid. So if no one applies, and it says, I believe on here 2 different times, that you reserve the right to reject any and all bids. So what I'm saying, again, this is purely hypothetical. Someone comes in and says, well, sure, I'll supply your lubricants, I want $500 a barrel, or, like something like that. You can reject that, then we go into the special purchasing. So the only part I would kind of suggest is you may want to see what comes in. If it doesn't meet satisfaction, it's rejected, and if no one bids, then we have a legal opportunity to go to the.
That's actually what we did last year.
I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. The market's so volatile on this stuff right now that we really got to keep an eye on it. Go ahead, Sam.
Coal Alliance has supplied our fuel for years, and they are by far the cheapest. And what gets, and I have it right here, because I get it every month, they come every week and drop fuel because it's a route for them, so we get it cheaper. And the gas price, I got it this morning, that we had to pay for a gallon of gas was $3.19, $2.86 a gallon, plus the 33 cents for the sales tax. So we get it at $3.19 a gallon. There's nobody even come close to that.
Nope. You're right, they take all the taxes out, so.
Coal Alliance is who service us also.
And the only reason I brought these up is I know last year we had an issue with oil and you decided you'd be better off buying it on the
I
open
think the
market.
only way we're gonna get a better gasoline price than what we're getting right now is
Storage.
Then it goes bad.
I apologize, I'm interrupting. Can we confirm what's our first meeting in December, just that date?
Fifth.
December 5th. Okay, the notice is fine for the bidder. There's a couple other things, and that packet would not be going out, but I want to check a couple other dates on the other packet. So, but it is December 5th at 9 a.m. Okay, so your notice for solicitation of annual bids is correct. There would be, I would like to review the other packet just for the technical parts of the date. I see there's some 5s, there's some 6s, but that packet cannot be released until October 26th anyway. So if you do approve the categories and you do approve the notice, it would give the auditor the authority to begin the publication of the notice of solicitation for the 26th. It would give the highway department, myself, to do a technical revision with your permission, just to check the dates on the categories.
Thank you, Jim. Greg, you got anything else for me?
Report on Hauser Road. Hauser Road, if stays on track, will be completed this week. All has went well in the last few days of construction. The bridge deck has been poured on Beach Church Road. That bridge deck needs to cure for 8 days. So we're looking sometimes next week before it is open, but it has progressed very well.
Outstanding facility.
Yeah.
Last week, we had a packet on Sand Hill Road Bridge.
Yeah, so.
Can I go ahead and make it on this bid packet while we're all standing here with their hands? That's all right. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the notice of solicitation for annual material bid, categories 1, aggregates, 2, bituminous mixtures, 3, culverts, 4, guardrail, 5, gasoline and diesel, 6, motor oil and lubricants. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Joel, seconded by Bob. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And Commissioner, do you have any objection for myself and the highway to work just for technical corrections on dates?
Absolutely not. Make sure all the dates are correct in here.
Okay.
Okay, great. We got that taken care of, so.
Sand Hill Road Bridge.
Okay, could you have the bridge plans, Commissioner? So this is for a bridge 127, this is for Sand Hill Road. This requires a sealed bids. There is a bid packet, you actually have two bid packets. One is approximately 35 pages. It will look like this, it'll say Owen County Bridge 127, Sand Hill Road over Coon Creek. This is the actual bid proposal that would go out if upon your approval. The publication to the newspaper would go out on October 26th as the first publication. November 9th is the second newspaper publication. This does require two publications. November 21st of 2022 was when the bids would come back to you for your consideration. There is an award packet also you should have received. It should begin intent to award Owen County. That does not have, it should not be released or go out. This is just on the day of the 21st. This is your notice to proceed, your intent to award, and your contract. So that's why there's two. If this does meet your approval, the first publication is the 26th, and then this entire packet should be at the auditor's office and at the highways department. The highway department and the auditor's office should have the signed bridge plans. And then on the 26th of October, this packet could be released.
Thank you, Jim. And folks, this Sand Hill Bridge project is funded by ARPA funds from the original ARPA money from early on. So it already has been funded.
Commissioner, I know it's a lot to look at, but this is a standard thing. This does recall a performance bond, a payment bond, the 100%. There's a bidder's bond. There's the scope of work and the specifications. It does have a time of the essence. So once you give the notice to proceed, the clock would start when they start the project, and there's a liquid damages clause that they don't need, by that time. It's pretty standard what we've done, but it's worked out well as far as the packets.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, gentlemen, do I hear a motion to approve the Sand Hill Road Bridge plans and to present that for bid?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Joel. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll pass these plans down, gentlemen. We can all.
Should I do repeat myself a lot? This is the proposal, that can be there. This is the award packet. That does not go out to the.
I didn't even give them the award packet
Right.
to confuse it.
Yeah, exactly. We just need to bring it in that day.
They're signing that. At the last meeting, you had given two, 127 and 189, I believe it was. Is the 189 just on hold now?
189 is off the table, right at this point due to inflation. There's only so much in ARPA to go around, so we need to get bids back on this bridge before we can see if we can build another.
And we've been told by a couple of contractors, and I know it's not out for bid, but some of those contractors are available to do work through the winter months, so.
That is correct.
That's a bonus for us if we can get this under contract, so.
CLR, the winning bidder for the bridge on Franklin Road, has indicated that they will move in within the next 10 days to start the Franklin Road project. Bridge there, from there, they'll move to Wasatch Lake.
Very good.
We expect, each project to take approximately 3 months.
Long overdue.
Lastly, commissioners, next week, I will be out of the office Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for a heart procedure at St. Vincent, Indianapolis. During my absence, Ms. Whitiger will be in charge. If you need anything, go through her.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Get yourself well. I know you've been working on that for a while.
Yep.
Prayers are out for you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, letter of credit for county landfill. We had two come back in. Jim, I'll let you address those. One of them I wasn't quite sure on the rate.
Commissioners, this is slightly different than the sealed bids. This comes to us under Indiana Code 522-9 series request for proposals. So from the auditor's office, was there notice placed in the paper for these requests for proposals?
Put in the paper and sent to 4 different local banks.
Okay.
We've done with in the past.
So Commissioners, there would be compliance with Indiana Code 5-22-93. That is notice for the request of proposals. There was also compliance as far as the criteria for in the letter. Obviously, the borrower would be the Owen County Commissioners. The purpose for this, just to kind of explain, this is a mandatory letter of credit for the landfill. It does not mean that Owen County is going to invest or have to borrow $418,000, but that is the amount that is required by law for the irrevocable letter of credit for the landfills at this particular time. The beneficiary is the Commissioner's Environmental Management. This doesn't answer your question, I mean, as far as the commercial, but I can say that the landfill is tested, I believe it's AECOM, I could have the name wrong.
AECOM.
Yeah, AECOM, but those tests have come back within the standards. So I don't want anyone to be suggested that there's something wrong with the landfill. Actually, there's not, it's being monitored, but this is required by law. So we have to have this each year. You then did receive, so you are not going tonight to actually award one of these. That's not how the proposal should work, but we do need to address the 2 that we received. You have one from the People's State Bank, which is located here out of Ellisville, Indiana. You have then one from the Owen County State Bank. You don't hear an address, but they've cited as 205 West Morgan, Spencer, Indiana. The commitment fee, the bottom line in essence of what you would want to know as commissioners is how much is this letter of credit cost. Both People's State Bank has asked an annual, the cost is $5,225. The cost from the Owen County State Bank is $5,225. There's other terms here. So the normal procedure would be is to make contact with both of the banks, determine if this is their, in essence, final offer, and then we would come back and begin the process of an award and a contract. So, Sheila, you said that there were 2 others that were sent to. Do you recall who those were?
Crane and First National Bank in Cloverdale.
Okay, but then as far as, at least as of 6 o'clock, there was no response at the time. So what would happen next, commissioners, is whether you want myself or the auditor to contact either one of your banks, that is totally within your discretion of who you would like to do that. Then we would come back to the next meeting, and then we need to do under 5-22-95, a register of proposals citing who was actually contacted, the 2 that were received, and which one you are going to ask them to prepare an awarded contract. We are fine on our time because it's February, it says this does not expire February 3rd. And so the question or?
No, he can do it.
Oh, okay. I assume
How did I know you were gonna say that?
That's purely by law, it's either option, but the point did come to me. So,
And real quick, Jim, I want to bring up in our last couple of meetings, if you gentlemen remember, we had a big increase on our letter of credit. 2 different increases, and that one was from our current holder of Owen County State Bank. So we have that rate unless they've changed it. Jim will go ahead and follow through on that, but we have got a current letter establishing that.
Yeah, we have one now. It doesn't expire in February, but this is mandatory, and our current one was very nice to give an early warning. The rate applies if we have to borrow. As long as we don't have to borrow, the 5225 is firm. It's just if worst case scenario, it would come.
Jim, can I make one more point? The commissioners our commissioner's budget has budgeted for $7,000 for this line of credit, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Sheila? So the money has already been budgeted.
Yeah.
We're within the realm of this amount. I know I bumped it up last year a little bit to look for increase, so with everything else, So we are within the limits of that, so.
Okay, well, if it so desired, then I would take it, you want me to go ahead and
Let's
contact.
go ahead and put that in the motion that we let the county attorney, I'm gonna ask for a motion, we let the county attorney, contact the two banks to deal with the letter of credit, and bring it back to us at the next meeting. Do I hear that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob, do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Joel, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Gentlemen, sorry for the long wait, but REMC.
Evening, gentlemen. James Tannenberger, I'm the CEO at South Central Indiana REMC, and hope to bring you some good news. A lot of challenges you guys have to overcome. I certainly can relate, although you guys definitely have some major challenges on your plate, and I respect that. So with that, hopefully a little bit of good news. I made hard copies, and I also have it up on the screen here. So if you guys are
Right here in
comfortable.
front of us.
Oh, you have it, all
Yeah.
right, fantastic. Then I won't worry about these. All right, so if you could go back to that other one, that would be great. Okay, so if you'll bear with me, I got just a little bit of background, a little bit of an update here. Got some good news to share. So this map, for informational purposes, the green area, about 60% of Owen County, is South Central Indiana REMC's territory. We serve, looking at about 60% of Owen County. The sort of cream colored area down below is UDWI REMC. And I guess the thing I would make sure people understand is that there are 38 different REMCs in the state of Indiana. We're separate companies, we're not the same company. Many people hear REMC and they think it's the same company. It's not. We cover seven counties within Indiana. Our four primary counties are Owen County, Brown County, Monroe, and Morgan counties. And we've engaged so obviously we've been providing electric service for 83 years now as an REMC. And back in December of 2017, we decided to go into broadband, high-speed internet, and we decided that we were gonna bring fiber to everyone that we bought broadband to. We weren't gonna use a wireless option, it was gonna be it was gonna be fiber. Everywhere we went, we were gonna bring our best service to everyone. So we set out on that, we embarked on that journey back in July. We started construction July of 2018. So we're 4 years into the project now, and we've been very successful to date. Things have gone very well. We've had lots of support from the counties. We've had support from Owen County. I would say that Owen County has a very strong partner in SCI REMC. I recognize the challenges that you guys face, the conversations in here today. So how can we change the future, right? So in the course of all these things that we're buried under, we got to try to improve things for tomorrow so that maybe we can get in a better situation. So the good news is, at least in part, the cavalry is coming. We've got lots of challenges. My understanding is that the federal ARPA funds, they've been spread around quite a bit. There was $250,000 earmarked for water, sewer, and broadband. And I would say that was a very wise earmarking, right? Very key future items, all three of them, critically important to Owen County. I think that you have a very great opportunity, and much of rural Indiana does, to take a step forward, get that infrastructure out there. People are willing to come if we can get the infrastructure there, right? So all three of those, I would say, are of truly equal importance. So I would like to give you just a little update on where things stand from a broadband perspective. So if you would, one thing I would say is, if you can leave it on that one for 1 second. The area I'm going to be focusing on tonight is that pink area that runs along the 231 corridor. That pink area is not SCI or UDWI territory. It's not served by an REMC. It's served by Duke. And Duke is a regulated entity. So in those areas, the REMCs cannot use their own poles. We're working with Duke. Duke has a certain set of rules they have to follow, and you have to go through a certain process, takes a certain amount of time, and it's not the same as building it on your own poles. I'll just say that. A lot of times what providers do is they'll just go ahead and put it underground, simply because you can control that. It's much more expensive for us to put it in Duke areas than it is to put it in our own. just because of those reasons. We're not putting it on our own poles, we're not using our own easements. And so those areas tend to be right now around the state of Indiana, those are sort of the gap areas. As the REMCs are stepping up and trying to bring broadband to rural Indiana, those are the areas that are sort of remaining a gap. Obviously, there are still lots of other gaps, but in those areas where we are serving, you've got that Duke stuff that's embedded. And it's not only Duke. I mean, any other provider that's a regulated provider, you're gonna have to deal with that. Ours just
Can I
happens-
stop you just a second?
Yes.
So you're concentrating on the town of Spencer area, 231, the pink is what you said you were concentrating on.
231 north and south, so Freedom up through Spencer, up into the northern area outside of Spencer as well.
I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in. The northern part of the county is in desperate need. They have nothing up there.
Yes, sir. So I think the other slide hopefully will help answer some of that. Okay, so this slide shows you, you saw what the electric, try to remember what the electric piece looked like, and now let's talk about fiber providers. So up there on the northwestern side of Owen County, all of that cream colored stuff, that's Endeavor. Endeavor has built fiber to the home in their territory. So all of that cream color is built in fiber today. The blue right in the middle is what SCI is currently building. My company, South Central Indiana REMC that I work for, is currently building that. And what you will notice is that area extends down much farther south than our territory. So what we have to do is if we're gonna build inside our territory, we've got to make sure that it's financially feasible. But we absolutely 100% must make sure that anything we build outside our territory to someone that is not our membership, we have got to keep our membership whole. So we must be very wise in how we spend our money in areas outside our membership territory. Obviously, we've got to be wise inside our territory, but we absolutely should not go outside our territory unless we can justify it financially. So the blue area is what we're building right now. The green area is what we've already built over there on the far east side. The hatched areas, north and south you see there, are areas where the REMC overlapped with Smithville. And we came together with Smithville, our fellow provider in Owen County, and we actually made a partnership with them so that South Central Indiana REMC is building on our poles the fiber in that area, and Smithville is purchasing it from us. And then our members and their customers in Owen County have the ability to choose between us and Smithville. So really been great to be able to do that in an area where our electric territory overlapped their traditional phone territory. So we got that area covered. So as you see, we're starting to knock out a pretty good chunk of Owen County. So a lot of positive things here. Broadband, just so you guys know, the running number out there is that for every dollar spent on broadband, it yields a $4 to $6 return for the community. Well, that's not a $4 to $6 return for the company installing it, it's a $4 to $6 return to the community. It's not the same return for the company installing it. I will tell you that in the areas that I'm proposing this evening that we'd like to look at for the ARPA funds, we're looking at $10,000 to get to a home. And if you look at our average that we collect for our service, it's $75. That's what we found in the 8,000 homes we're already serving, is $75 is the average. Well, that's $900 a year. $900 a year on something that cost you $10,000 to build, that's not a very good return. So we gotta have help if we're gonna do this. But I'll tell you, I have a heart for seeing Owen County served. I love what Owen County is doing. Owen County has done some very smart things to prepare themselves for rain. I commend what you guys have done and the decisions you've made. If you look at the pink area down there around Freedom, that is an area that SCI REMC has made the decision to serve. That's outside our territory, that's UDWI's territory. What I will say about UDWI is they decided not to build fiber, but they are doing everything in their power to grease the skids to try to help us and Smithville by helping with make ready. So obviously there need to be poles replaced and things like that. So they're helping with that. So it's a partnership with UDWI. We have one and so does Smithville to try to pick up all these other parts of Owen County that are outside outside our territory. So the purple area over there on the far southeast side of Owen County, that's Smithville's territory. I don't know exactly what Smithville's doing there, and I won't speak for them, but I do know they have an agreement with UDWI, and so it very well could be for that area. So things look very bright for Owen County and getting broadband out there. So you got broadband, water, and sewer, right? 3 very critical things, and you got $250,000 that's earmarked for it. Obviously, we'd love to see all 3 of those things get done, but my request to you would be, hey, if we can check one of those boxes completely or almost completely, let's try to get it done. So to the extent that that money's been sitting out there for almost a year now, I would like to request all of it. And it's to hit that corridor right there, to try to pick up that area. Quite honestly, if we can't get some help doing that area, we're not gonna do it. I don't really see that anyone else is gonna do it. It's just a very expensive area to serve. And so that's my piece.
How many potential customers are you looking at countywide as new REMC fiber customers?
Yeah, so we'll be passing, as things sit today, 4,500 homes in the county. So depending on take rate, up to 4,500. The REMC is investing $10 million in Owen County. So that's $10 million to serve our members plus these areas that are outside our membership. Obviously, the partnership with Smithville has helped a little bit. That's why we're trying to look to see if we can get more of Owen County served. Guys, I sincerely want to tell you that if it came down to the bottom line, we wouldn't be, if it was just about the bottom line, we wouldn't be doing this. We love our community. We've been here for 80 plus years. We want to see our communities raised up. And Owen County needs help, no doubt about it. You guys know that. You see, I hear the challenges you're facing. We want to be a powerful partner to help you do that. But it's very hard to do it. You guys heard what the finances look like. It's very hard to do that on our own. We're the most likely to do it with help, simply because we have different financing needs. Because of the way we're structured, we can stomach a 30-year return on our money. The other providers done a great job helping get Owen County served. They don't have those same kind of finances. They can't take a 30-year return on their money. So that's why the REMC's building in Indiana is such a powerful help. And we'd love to help you, but it's gonna take a little bit of help in these areas.
Joe, you have any comments? Questions?
Yeah, I do. What's right here, Spencer, the red here and the white area here, what is that on? Why is that area, those roads red?
Roads red. I'm not sure why. So I wouldn't put anything into the color of the roads. Those are just. I'm not sure why it's red. I think it's red by nature, and then when you overlay it with other colors, it changes the color. The roads should all be the same color, but I think when you overlay them, it changes the color.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
I'll step over here. My name is Darrell White, and commissioners, I really want to thank you for the difficult decisions that you're making for our community. And I'd like to talk about a personal situation, if I may. I live just 1.5 miles west of Spencer on Patricksburg Road, just a half mile south of Highway 46. I first had internet in 1995, provided by AT&T and a dial-up, and I'd like to go bing, bum, bum, whatever all those beepy noises were when you connected to the dial-up connection. Frustrating, slow, but it was all we had. Over the years, AT&T actually sold me broadband service 3 times, but it was never installed because a terminal near my home that might have provided service hadn't been configured. And the local technician said that AT&T corporate wouldn't approve him to configure that terminal. So I got excited, disappointed several times. I needed something better than dial-up because dial-up was terribly unreliable, and there was even a problem with a copper phone line coming to my home. Eventually I tried Virgin, Hotspots, Verizon, Hughes Satellite. They were all expensive, limited data allowances, unreliable. One month I got a bill from Verizon for $350 because my computer updated its operating system overnight. I was shocked, surprised, delighted in the summer of 2019, when Endeavor contacted me and said that they were going to be bringing broadband fiber past my home. I was delighted and felt very fortunate that I was hooked up in September of 2019. Most of you probably know I just recently retired, a 10-year service at the YMCA as CEO. Shortly after I got the broadband service in February of 2020 and March, the pandemic hit. We had to shut down the YMCA along with other businesses. You know what impact the pandemic had on our community. I don't know if our YMCA would have been able to survive if I hadn't been able to join in all the Zoom meetings from the national organization, from the state chamber of commerce, from the Indiana Alliance of YMCA CEOs. But because I was able to get information through video conferences and had good, high-speed, reliable internet, and you know, Endeavor is one of the great partners we have here in Owen County, along with SCI, REMC, and Smithville. But I really think a part of the reason that our YMCA survived in good shape financially was the fact that I was able to communicate all over the country and within the state what was happening. I've been an advocate for broadband in our community for well over a decade, and it would be easy for me to sit back and say, I've got mine, good luck to the rest of you. But I'm here tonight because I care about all of our citizens in Owen County, and I really want to support what he's proposing and appreciate your serious consideration of allocating some of these ARPA funds, which resulted from the pandemic, to help connect our communities and provide for future economic growth and opportunity for our kids, businesses, individuals, all combined. And just one more point, one thing that really hit me, because my family is from this area going back into the middle 1800s. And I remember hearing stories from my great-grandparents about when electricity first came to their farms. And they were called light bills. I didn't even remember the electric bill when I was a kid here in town. It was called a light bill, because that's what electricity did initially. And I think that is similar to the promise that broadband provides to us. It's not just an internet connection. It's going to grow, and the beauty of fiber is that it is, for all intents and purposes, obsolete proof. I'm not even sure obsolete proof is a right way to say it, but it's really a real good assurance against becoming obsolete in the future. It'll grow with the technology, and that's basically it. I just want to implore you to very seriously give this some consideration for the future growth and security of our community and all of our citizens. Thank you very much.
We appreciate that. And I agree with you. During the pandemic, we had a lot of discussion. This board approved to be a broadband-ready community. We had several children out there that were not able to access school information or school learning because of this. And that's why I mentioned some of these areas that are untouched out there. Got a school teacher sitting out here, and I don't mean to keep pointing at Amy throughout the night, but there was a lot of kids that would have to drive all the way into town and sit in the parking lot and hoping that they could get a signal from the school to get their lessons. We can't have that kind of thing, because there's a lot of kids out there that do not have the opportunity for their parents to bring them in or to get somewhere. So I totally understand what you're saying. And I'm gonna let you guys talk here in a minute. Unfortunately, I'm the one that has to run the meeting, so I get to do all the talking, I guess. But anyway.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you know an approximate cost for the customer per month?
Yes, ma'am. So, for the minimum package, which is 50 megabits per second, it's $55. Now there's an $8 wireless router fee, and the reason why we have everyone use our wireless router for the $8 is because oftentimes we can remotely fix problems that you have, so we don't have to haul the truck to your house.
Can you get that without a landline? Or do you have to get a landline also?
No, you don't have to have a landline.
Okay.
And so you get it, and then also you can get phone service from us. So we offer phone for $30 a month.
Okay.
Could I add that there's federal subsidies for low-income families?
I wondered about
There are.
that,
Or she's
because
supposed to.
I know that's a lot of the
Magic grant
issue
money and
with some of my students.
And we are,
Not just that they weren't in an area with a signal, but.
we are participating in the federal.
We got one more thing.
I didn't know that.
We've just recently met all the qualifications.
Thank you.
Yes.
I am right there in Freedom, right on that, between that white or the pink and the blue. And I'm not a CEO, I'm not a school teacher, I'm a sister who lives out in the country that would love to have broadband. I love the countries, like, I was like having the light bill come, it's like, oh, I've heard of it, and I've been getting promised, and I know, things work slow, but, and I'm one of the country girls, I don't have neighbors, and I understand the financials, it's like, you know what? People go, well, I have it up the road, Connie, well, I have it back there, I'm like, yeah, you don't have neighbors, even if it's 2 neighbors, I have neighbors. Now again, they are not, I kept telling Marcy, they're not gonna run a line to Connie Murphy. You're 80 acres, there's nobody, sorry, you're not on our list, you know. She's like, no. So I've been waiting, and I don't have Duke.
Yeah.
You have REMC, Connie.
So would you mind going back to that other, so right
And I'm
now-
right there with you, but I'm on the other end of the county. I'm east of Carp. I currently have Smithville that's absolutely, and nothing against the company, but what I've got is horrible. Every time the wind blows, it rains, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
So as long as you're outside that pink area, you see the pink, it runs right down, 231. As long as you're outside that, and if you wouldn't mind switching back, that's the area I'm talking about right now, but if you could switch back. So the blue and the pink right there, if you're in there, you're getting served, you should be served by us, by our REMC. Now, we're just building.
Right.
In the pink area. So we in some places haven't begun construction.
Right.
But the goal is to serve
Do
you.
we have any kind of timeline, next 5 years, 2 years?
But the money that you're asking for is this area here.
No, could you switch back?
Show the pink.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't want to do this if I didn't have to. It's part of that whole corridor.
Right, it's right here.
Right along 231.
That's a pretty small sliver of the whole county.
So see, Connie, that wouldn't catch you. What I would,
No, I'm sorry. So that's the ARPA funds. So we already committed to building that pink area. But we're just not building what's right up against 231. So if you're in that pink area, you should be on our list, and I think it's it's a 2-year window.
2 years.
Yeah.
2 more years. Okay.
But no one was gonna build it before we.
No, and I
stepped up and said we'll build it.
understand that, but I know I'm an REMC customer, because I've been REMC
Well,
before.
so if you're REMC, well, you need to.
I got it, yeah.
Okay,
And it is.
that's the difference. If you're South Central, we're finishing our bill by the end of the year.
So I gotta keep my mouth shut right now.
You have fiber on the pole running down 231 from, say, the 67 231 junction all the way into town. Why can't you serve those homes?
I'm not sure exactly how we are building down 231, but if it's Duke's area.
No, I believe it's yours, and there's fiber on the pole.
Yeah, so if it's in our territory, we're serving it, we're gonna serve it.
Victor, the regulatory commission controls over where phone providers can boundary. There's a spot over in western Owen County where Frontier is, and Endeavor had to go around them like they were a bump in the road because Frontier wouldn't allow them to go over the top of them. So you'll find a lot of those spots are prioritized by Duke or whoever holds them, and you can't pass over the top of them.
So in that area, if it's REMC, if it's SCI REMC, we're building it, because what we're doing is if there is an SCI REMC member that doesn't have fiber, we're building, if an
And the fiber is on the pole.
Yes, sir. If an SCI REMC member does not have access to fiber through someone else, Endeavor or Smithville in this case, then we're building to that member.
Well, the question is, why can't you do it now? What is the holdup?
We are doing it now. That blue area right there, that's our membership. And the green area, we've already built. So by the end of 2022, we should have a majority of that blue built. By mid-year 2023, it will be all built.
Okay, it's on the pole. I have REMC, SCI, REMC. Who do I talk to?
I need to get your address because you're in that blue area.
You can write it down, 3820.
And Victor, you and I don't agree up too often, but I'm gonna agree with you on this. It's running by our highway department right now. They do not have fiber, they have nothing out there. They're running a antenna off of our radio tower out there to try to get Wi-Fi signal. You folks have had your trucks out there running fiber down the pole. I need to know how fast I can get it into that highway garage.
Yeah. 3820 north, US 231.
I think some of it's just the crews that do the installation from the pole to the house. There's a limit to how quickly they can respond.
Right, but if it's there, we just like some idea of, are we looking at a month, 2 months?
So one problem that we run into.
And we're not here to beat you up, just asking questions.
No, I understand. So, one problem we run into is we built the backbone that we then build the system off of. And when we build that backbone, everybody's sitting there watching our truck thinking, yeah, it'll be here next week. The truth is, it might be 18 months.
And that's what I'm asking.
We gotta get that in there. So, that blue area right there is SCI's territory that we're working on right now. So by mid-2023, it should all be finished.
Well, let you know that people, that my friends that have it, they all love you.
We wanna love you too.
Yeah. So, what is your name?
Victor? Yeah, V as in Victor, A, I-L, L-E, Taylor, E.
Okay. And I apologize, I'm fielding questions out here.
No,
I'm sure that's probably your role.
What is he expecting from the county tonight? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I'm gonna help you with that, Ernie, right here, okay? And we're gonna bring this down to a close.
Yeah.
We have $250,000 that we have offered up for infrastructure, water, sewer, broadband. All of them we need. This money has been sitting in this bucket for almost 12 months. Almost.
Are you interested, I hope?
It is.
Okay, good.
You are the first company that's come to us with a proposal of any type. Why, I do not know. Glad you did. But we're not gonna be in a position as a board to listen to yours and hear no one others. And I know that the water company has sent me an email and they are interested. So we have to listen to the other proposals to be fair to the other companies. We've got a project out on 43, we've got land out there the county owns that we're trying to get water and sewer down so we can increase our growth.
Guys,
we're not turning you down.
It's been a year. I'm sorry, it's been a year.
And it took you a year. And I just got an email from the water company last week.
I would think our highway department would probably deserve a little extra effort to get that hookup.
I agree with that, Ernie. I mean, gentlemen, jump in here. Anything I'm saying is out of line?
We'd be happy to.
Correct me.
You're saying it, I mean, again, we haven't heard a thing about running the water line. We haven't heard, you're the first person that's come to the.
Guys, that's not my fault, though.
Well, no, you're not being beat up for it, I
But
understand.
just a minute ago, you guys talked about funds that aren't being spent because people aren't making the case to spend them. I'm telling you, I need you to trust me to be a good steward of this money, and if we wait, I don't know, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm not gonna drive back, please. Thank you all for your support.
You're welcome.
Elected officials and department heads. Kathleen, you've got the J&K Communications, correct?
So this is, the maintenance contract starts, roughly November 1st, runs through October 31st of 2023. The price on this is the $19,230.20. That is currently still available within my contract services to be spent for this year. Plus, that was also budgeted, for my 2023 budget next year. This covers not only all of the radio equipment and consoles within dispatch, but it also covers all of the work that we've done on our VHF repeater towers, So it keeps that maintenance and everything going as well. The only thing that this does not maintain is the state system, and that's the 800 radios that the sheriff's department's on, because the state maintains that.
So is this, it's for a year, correct? It looks like start date's November 1st on all this stuff, so it's good for one full 12 months.
So as you see, Jim kind of summarized, because I sent the contract to him to make sure that we didn't have to go through 3 quotes and all of that kind of stuff. There's 67 different equipment items that are listed within this that they will maintenance. So it's radio parts and communications, so it's stuff we have to have.
This just requires your signature. I don't see that it requires a commissioner's signature, just
Correct.
approval.
Yeah, I just wanted to, since it is a contract, obviously.
And by rights, you did the right thing. Gentlemen, you have any questions or concerns?
No.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the J&K Communications contract for the next 12 months?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Bob. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Is this the original?
I have it, it was emailed, so,
Okay.
yeah, so it doesn't matter. I have the email copy of it.
Sheila, you want to put that on file?
Really quick, just gonna update you guys about staffing. I can't remember if I told you guys this or not. I have the one employee that actually was just dropped off today to start his 1-year service overseas. So he has not been available to us since the 1st of October because he had to do training prior to now his year out. And then I have 2 employees that have left, so that puts me 7 employees to run a staff of 10. I might not be at some meetings because I'm gonna be working shifts. So I do have a hiring process that is currently opening. We have been doing some interviews. I do also have interviews scheduled for this Friday as well. Hoping to get some people hired, but it takes a while to train people before they can actually sit on a console, be a viable person on the shift. So I am going to be working rotation for probably the rest of this year, so yeah. So if I'm not in the office or if I'm not at a meeting, I'm on console.
So we just called 911 to get a hold of you?
Let's not, but there's other ways. There are other ways, so I believe that's about all I have unless you guys have anything for me.
Gentlemen, Ian?
I have nothing.
No, thank you.
All right.
We have no other elected officials in the room.
Except Sam.
Sam?
I'm good.
He's already, we let him talk already.
Yeah.
Attorney comments? Sheila?
You have copies of the blue sheets,
Yes.
treasurer's monthly reports.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Okay, Baron, you've got your hand up for public comment.
Well, I don't want to keep beating the dead horse here, but in the last over a year now, for the comprehensive plan that's coming up here in November, whatever, I have reviewed the 2010s and I've reviewed all the other ones that have come up there, but they keep revising it. I mean, there's a revision every 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever, right? And the deal about it is this, and that is, it's important for me to try to communicate to the county commissioners that this is a plan, it's not carved in stone, and no matter which one of these plans they end up giving you, okay, right, for the vote on, right? Just remember, it's not a contract, it's not in stone. So that means once that you vote, if you vote yes for it, okay, right? What's gonna happen is, well, in my opinion, they're gonna throw it out, they're gonna do what they need to do that's done by the state, okay, right, all right? And these unelected officials, right? And we'll lose the ability of our county commissioners to have a vote, a valid vote, to be able to do all the new ordinances and all the new rules and all the new things they want you to join, okay? So this deal about this comprehensive plan, all these revisions, right? It's not a contract, because they promise you something. People from Monroe promise you this, they promise you that. I'm telling you, once they get this in, okay, right? It'll be just like what's happening up in Kokomo and those counties around there. They're in, once you're in, it's hard to get out. And you're gonna lose, people are gonna lose their representation. And I don't care what they tell you, I've already researched this, and this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're talking about regionalism, which is,
Regional, that's exactly what they're gonna go
which is
with.
what you're talking about.
Right, and the lure is the $500 million, well, all you gotta do is vote yes, and we'll let you file for grants. But the deal about it is, the people lose their rights.
Well, the comprehensive plan has got a lot of people in this county upset and talking about things that doesn't necessarily need to be discussed, because it's not law, it's nothing but opinion is all it is. Jim, if you wanna jump in here, we've talked about this many times, but again, the comprehensive plan does not tie us to anything.
The comprehensive plan, it's a 36-7 series and under 500, so it is required by law for a county to have zoning. Owen County does have an existing comprehensive plan. This is my memory, it seems like it was approved around December of 2009, so somewhere in that area. That is in existence right now. It cannot be passed by an ordinance, it can only be passed by a resolution. And again, I won't hit all of them, but memory, if the BZA or the Plan Commission is looking at some areas, there's a requirement that's mandated, but they have to acknowledge and look at the areas of the comprehensive plan. But I do wanna specify, and I'm not trying to do it, it is not law in itself. And I will give you one opinion, the most important thing that we want in county is once there's a revision of the zoning code. The zoning code is law. The zoning code, has been there since, again, my dates could be off, I think somewhere around 2003. It's where that's been, it is clearly, and I say this part, I mean, is opinion, but I don't know there's any doubt at this point that is the key thing that has to be revised in the county. And I'm not saying in any way there's agreement of the substantive part, but I do think at this point, I mean, I think there is a lot of agreement that in 2023, we've got to revise the 2003 plan. Generally, the comprehensive plan is a first step, and I'm not, again, but I definitely acknowledge the concept of regionalism, because in 2009, 2003, there was not a discussion of those topics. But my understanding, there's a meeting for the comprehensive plan tomorrow with the Plan Commission. The procedural way of what would happen if and when the comprehensive plan would advise that this should be adopted, it does come to you as the county commissioners to make a determination. Now, again, when that actually gets here, I'll have everything, lined out, and I'll be quoting the statutes. But in general, you're looking at it, do I accept this? Do I want changes? Do I want it, to go back? There'll be a lot of decisions for you to make, as commissioners. But as of today, the 2009 comprehensive plan is the one that is looked at. There is clearly meetings, and I believe tomorrow is a public hearing, to get input from everyone. But as to the very best of my knowledge, there has never been a vote by the Plan Commission yet to actually send this to you at that point. That would be the procedure at some point. They're going to, I guess, make a decision, but that's within their scope. Then it would come to you for the decision.
And again, it's still, even if it's approved or unapproved, it is still not county law.
It is a resolution. It is a resolution, and it cannot be interpreted as law. The confusion sometimes is, and I believe it's like 36-7, 500, or 501, there's a mandatory statute. Counties, you'll have a comprehensive plan. But that doesn't.
That's as far as it goes,
It doesn't
correct.
change that to now that's a statute.
I just want to try to make that clear. I know you and I've had that discussion many times, and Baron, I don't know if that helps you or not, but throwing out what we can here. Gentlemen, do you have anything? Joel?
No, I'm good.
Bob?
Absolutely not.
Question on the floor?
As soon as I get done here. We weren't here to upset the gentleman from REMC. We want fiber. Connie wants fiber. I want fiber. But if I don't listen to Todd from the water company that is requested through email, we're not doing our job. I really hate that the gentleman got upset. That concerns me a little bit. It really does. If you're here asking for money, you shouldn't throw a fit when you walk out the door.
May I offer just, I don't know what was on his mind, but I know as CEO of the YMCA, a much, much smaller organization than SCI, RAMC. I was looking at the big picture. I didn't know the details at tactics. And all of you were asking him for some details. And as CEO, that's not really his role. And I think he may have been a little frustrated at not being able to answer those detailed questions. But just my thoughts.
Sure.
He didn't come prepared.
Couple of minutes.
Sure. On the comprehensive plan, we hear often the statement, it's not a law. But the planning commission is required to accommodate it. Might as well be law, okay?
He just told you.
So we can go back to 2003, and we've got $100,000 and rewrite the land use, zoning and land use ordinance. But the comprehensive plan matters, and it needs to be slowed down. We have people who would be willing, qualified people, to sit down and go over the proposed plan and make Owen County-centric recommendations. The problem is you have an outside outfit, first of all.
We don't. This commissioner board does not. We do
Well,
not.
Marcy King does.
We heard.
Okay, and with a Bloomington point of view, we are not Bloomington. And the process really needs to be slowed down and to get some local input. And we have qualified people ready to get to work on it.
And those concerns, Victor, need, and I'm not arguing with one thing you're saying, Joel's not either.
Oh, no, you're on point there.
The thing of it is, this board doesn't have authority over that, the planning commission does. That's where all this starts and stops. Once they approve or disapprove is when it comes to us. So all those issues need to be dealt with long before it ever gets to this point. So you need to address those issues with that board. And Bob, I know you sit on that board, and I'm not picking on you by no means, but there's 7 or 8 of you on there, and that's where those concerns need to be. Again, we have no authority over it. It's just comes to us after it's been approved.
It's just like Cook coming to you and telling what they plan to do, going to the council, telling them they want, even though it's not right. So raising the issue here, even though it's not right, is still right, okay?
So we're listening to you.
Yeah.
We just can't do nothing about it.
It's gotta be, you said it right, it's gotta be built from within.
Yes, and like I said, there are people who are very qualified, willing to go over this and to make Owen County recommendations. This group, Marcy King's group, has never been interested in public input. And you can take a look at every step they've done. And it's been almost like the meeting at McCormick's Creek, the splitting off of the town of Spencer comprehensive plan from the Owen County, just so you don't have to talk about things like annexation. Well, that's stupid. I mean, these two plans should have been married. So anyway, not to drag on any further.
Yeah, Sheila's feeling lousy. She's wanting to get out of here.
3 minutes up.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn, and all 3 of us will second it. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.